Fatima's story is really very difficult to hear. She tells us about her experience of really persistent and pervasive racism throughout her whole life, from education to health to housing and to policing. In terms of my own reflection on Fatima's story, I'm really struck by the courage that she has shown and the dignity with which she tells her story. For us as police officers, on the face of it, a criminal justice outcome where somebody's charged seems like success. But for Fatima, in terms of everything else she's experienced, we need to recognise that how she's been left feeling is not a positive outcome, and we need to work on that.
I think that people need to understand the amount of hate that people are subjected to. And I just feel like if this was talked about more, it would normalise it more, it would break down the stigma of what has actually been happening to people. Whenever the PSNI came to take my statement, even though I was so young, I just feel like it wasn't taken seriously. I've been going through therapy and different types of medications, trauma-based therapy from the age of around 11, 12. Hello, my name is Fatima. I'm here today to get my point across on the stuff that myself and my family have been subjected to over the years. Over the past few years, my dad has actually come to me with a few stories that him and his family have been subjected to, and I'm just at a point in my life now where I feel like it's important to speak up on it. Myself as a child, I grew up in a loyalist area, and from the age of 11 to 12 I started to be subjected to a lot of hate crime. One of the worst attacks that happened to me growing up was in an estate closest to my house. In this attack, I was jumped by 10 kids. They just kept asking me certain questions. They kept saying, "Where are you from? Are you from here? No, but where are you really from?" And splurting Islamophobic phrases towards me. As a child of that age, I didn't really understand why I was being singled out. Whenever I had eventually got home and went to my parents and explained what happened, my mum had obviously rang the police. Whenever the PSNI came to take my statement, even though I was so young, I just feel like it wasn't taken seriously. As I've said, there was probably around 10 people in the attack, and I could only remember one of the names. They only prosecuted and pushed that one person whenever there was a main attacker that I really felt should have had some form of consequence over what they had done to me. They didn't make any effort whatsoever to find out who these people were, any more information. From what I can remember, one person has been charged, but I honestly don't feel like that. I don't feel like that was right. I don't feel like the PSNI give me their duty of care. It then spiralled on to a point where the Education Authority decided to withdraw me from school for my safety, as they couldn't guarantee it anymore. Once I was withdrawn, it was for over 6 months. I was homeschooled within the 6 months, and I honestly just feel like it was a very detrimental point in my life, as whenever you first go into first year, that's your time to meet people, make connections, just start your pre-adult life really. And I feel like I had that stripped from me. I feel like if the PSNI had addressed and properly addressed these issues, maybe this mightn't have got this far. It just got to the point where, it wasn't just happening in school, it was happening outside of school. They started following me. They would orchestrate it so that there was multiple of them waiting at different points. They attacked me, so there was days where I would have been subjected up to 4 attacks. I feel like it gets played down of this being a hate crime, but what I was subjected to was most definitely a hate crime. And I think it's so important for kids and other people going forward for there to be a change in this, because it's just not right. People should be able to speak up and talk about these experiences that happened, and that's exactly why I'm doing this here today. Through all of these attacks, I now have what I would call like a trigger and trauma towards loyalist estates and flags. It's just a massive trigger for me, as I was literally attacked within 6 different estates growing up. I've lived in every single part of Belfast in my life, and I've never ever felt accepted until the place that I'm living now, which is not. It's the only place that I live that is not a loyalist area. It's took me to the age of 27 to get to a point in my life where I can understand and actually process what has happened. But I feel why I'm here today is because I feel it's so important to voice what has happened to me, because this is the same story for a lot of people and it just isn't talked about enough. You're just put down, you're just told, wise up, it's bullying, wise up, it's a bit of crack. Well, it's not a bit of crack, that's someone's life. I got to a point in my life, unfortunately, during COVID where I was made redundant and then was homeless, and I had to navigate the welfare system in order to try and get a home. I was unfortunately, no matter how many times I had pleaded to my housing officer that I literally had trauma in loyalist areas and that flags were a big trigger for me, I was just dismissed and dismissed. I then ended up getting placed within one of the estates that people that I was attacked by actually lived in, and it got to the point where I actually started bumping into my old attackers. This wouldn't have happened if the housing executive had actually just listened to me and said, I have trauma, it is not safe for me, but it was just dismissed. I was just told that's all that's available. And I understand that there is a housing crisis, but there's also a duty of care to people, and I just don't feel like hate crime is taken seriously enough. It's just dismissed so much and you're just told to get on with things, when realistically people need to speak up about it and there needs to be more said about it. Northern Ireland is a very small-minded place, and I think it is very important for there to be some sort of training on ethnic minorities and such, so that the PSNI can understand what difficult and barriers people like myself come against. If they don't know, in fairness, if they don't know the details, they're not going to understand. But I think it's important for them to take. There's so much more diversity in Belfast now, so they're going to come across more mixed people, more migrants. Like within their job role, they have a duty to care to people no matter what of their background. So it shouldn't be my job, it shouldn't be someone else's, it should be their job to understand how to help these people better. My advice to someone going through something similar would be to stay true to yourself and your culture, and don't feel like you should have to change yourself because you're in a country that doesn't accept it. I definitely went through stages of my life where I felt like I couldn't stay true to my culture because of the repercussions of it. But now that I'm in my later age, I've understood that it's me, it is part of me, and that can't be changed just because it's not accepted here. And another main point to make is speak up for yourself. Speak up whenever you see things that are wrong. Tell someone. Whenever you're subjected, speak up about it, because if you don't, no one else is going to do it for you. You need to be able to speak up for yourself.